I am doing a history project that poses the question, how does character, either good or ill, have an effect on modern world history? To evaluate this subject, I have researched Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Saddam Hussein, all of whom I consider to have poor character. I decided to interview soldiers with first-hand experience in seeing the consequences on the average person who lived through the trying times of these leaders. I am planning to ask you open-ended questions and welcome all of your thoughts as they come. Please tell me what branch of the armed services and wars that you served in.
My name is Captain David Proctor. I served in the United States Army, still currently do, and I was on active duty during the Iraq War, specifically Operation Iraqi Freedom 5 from 2007 to 2008 in the Baghdad area of operations.
What did you see happen to the common person during Operation Iraqi Freedom? Please describe your experiences.
The common American soldier, kind of tough. We actually got to. It was very draining on us. Operations, the tempo of operations was nonstop. It was also very difficult because we weren't fighting a regular normal war like World War II or Korea, where there was a clearly defined, front line. It was a counterinsurgency. Sometimes compared to Vietnam. We didn't know who the bad guy was. The bad guy looked just like the people that we were supposed to be protecting. You never knew where the bad guy was going to be. The insurgency, the anti-Iraqi government or Al-Qaeda forces they could be anywhere or they could be nowhere, and you never knew it until an IED or an explosively formed projectile or a sniper shot at you, or one of those IEDs exploded. And very often it was hit and run, so you didn't have the ability to return fire. So a lot of American soldiers got frustrated, and that kind of showed sometimes in how we dealt with the normal Iraqi populace. As far as how it affected Iraqis, one day they'd be grateful that we were there, that we got rid of Saddam Hussein for them, and the next day they were wanting us to be gone. It kind of flip-flopped. They were glad that they had their freedom, that they could vote and elect a prime minister on their own, and that women could have a voice in government and things like that, and that they didn't have to live in fear from Saddam Hussein's secret police. But at the same time, they didn't have any experience with democracy, so sometimes they were frustrated with the things not working the way they wanted it to. And they thought that we should have not stayed around as long as we did. We were looked at sometimes as occupiers. So it was really tough.
How did those experiences affect you and others around the world?
Wow. I have a new perspective on what it's like to be occupied. I know that if I were to have been in their position, even though it would be, a friendly government that was being friendly towards us, I know I wouldn't like to be occupied. I wouldn't like to have some other nation's military telling me what and where I could go, despite the fact that, it was supposed to be for my good, and I was supposed to now be free. I wouldn't like it. How it affected others, everybody came out differently. I was a platoon leader. I had lots of soldiers that, some of them wanted to stay. They liked what they were doing. They liked their job. They thought, and they saw themselves as doing something right. I did too. I thought that we were there for a good reason. I know that the Iraqis didn't think so, but I saw while I was there that I was doing good things, that things were changing, good things were happening. The Iraqis were actually coming out of what some would say, a very backward society. I mean, they were coming out of a dictatorship where everybody was scared to say anything about their government, and they now had the freedom to do that, and they were very vocal about it, and I thought that was a good thing. Yeah, they were protesting us being there, but at least now they had the ability and the right to do that, and not fear of literally being taken out to the woodshed and shot, which is what would have happened under Saddam Hussein's regime. How it affected people here in the United States, it's quite apparent. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Overall, I think the effect with soldiers is we saw that we were doing what we were told to do, and that we were there for a reason, and we were there to protect American interests, to protect our own population here. If we fight Al-Qaeda and we get to them in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we destroy them there, then we're making it all the more difficult for them to attack us here, because they're focused now on defending themselves instead of attacking us. I'd rather defend my country that way than have to try to fight the same fight here in the streets of the United States. I'd rather do it. I'd rather do it over there.
Do you think the character of the political leaders had an impact on modern world history?
But definitely. I mean, the three individuals that you mentioned almost sometimes are mentioned together when you come to when you mention horrible, distasteful dictatorships. Dictatorships in which the entire population of a nation are suppressed by one man and his will and his dreams of grandeur. Hitler, Hussein, and Stalin are sometimes mentioned in the same breath. They all three affected history. If it weren't for Saddam Hussein, Iraq wouldn't have invaded. Iraq wouldn't have had a war with Iran. Iraq also wouldn't have had the first Gulf War in 1991, and then we wouldn't have had the long kind of struggle that we had from 1991 to when finally everything broke down and we literally had to invade the country in 2003. And then we fought a war in that country up until just last year. That's, almost close to near 20 years simply because of one man. Our country fought and was involved in warfare in that region because of him. That one guy caused it all. So it definitely affected the history. It affected the history of the United States. There are thousands of American soldiers that are now, some of them are dead, some of them are wounded, some of them are injured, others will carry mental scars from that conflict, all because of that guy. I mean, there are a few choice words that I would have for describing him, but I don't think that they would be, appropriate for your paper. But that man is just totally ruined, the childhood and the young adulthood of some of America's finest young men and women. I no longer have a friend of mine because of that man. So I do take it personally. I lost a year of my life to spend with my son because of that man. So I think Saddam Hussein has affected world history, and not for the better either.
Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
The only thing I could add is that we did the right thing. It might have cost us, but we did the right thing, and we're continuing to do the right thing in Afghanistan. I know that it's probably not the popular thing to say, but we are doing the right thing. What matters now is that the rest of the American public, realize that because of that, and because of us engaging them over there, they haven't had time to recuperate, reorganize, and get back together and threaten the United States. Because of what we've done, the two main people that colluded and conspired to, kill several thousand Americans on 9/11 are both dead. And I think that we need to realize that. And that it's because of what we've done, despite the fact that it's not been popular, that something more serious has not happened, because we've been able to keep them off balance. And that's what this has been all about. Sometimes you have to protect like they say, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And that's what we've been doing. I just hope that when we look at it in that way. What could have happened in the past 10 years if we had not been engaged in Afghanistan and Iraq? What other types of attacks could have happened against the United States, both here and abroad? That's it.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with me.
Sure.
All right.